Should we start? All was uncovered to his seerless eye. A secret nature, stripped of her defense, once in a dreaded half-light formidable, overtaken in her mighty privacy, lay bare to the burning splendor of his will. This is the vision he has, that the secret nature, which is the world of, which is usually cut off from the world of the spirit, the world of matter, where there is ignorance, where there is darkness, and which has to be slowly manifest the light. It is really the home of all light. How can it grow towards the light, the truth, the consciousness, unless that truth and consciousness were not hidden below? But she defends herself. Because if right from the beginning, in the nature of earth and man also, man is included in the being of earth, the presence of the divine were not recognized. We say we are made of the stuff of matter, the stuff of darkness, the stuff of inertia and resistance. The progression, the gradual breaking down of the opposition would never happen. We have to consciously select, choose. Earth has to select. That is the choice he gives, the divine. We have to grow towards that light. But that light is inside. We don't have the light or the divine or the temple of the divine is not outside, it is inside. We recognize that presence and bring it out into the open. But until then, she defends herself in that darkness, the earth nature defends herself with so many layers of inertia. It's like being fast asleep. All energy, all power is growing out of that energy. So now he realizes that the opposition we usually make between the heights and the depths is just a kind of an appearance that comes at a particular time which allows earth to make a choice to grow towards the light or not to grow towards the light. Man is the leader of that growth. It is given to man whether he shall move by his personal choice. It is not imposed. It is as if the divine gives man the possibility. You make a choice. If you want, you can. Because the presence, the guidance, the help is within. But if you are comfortable lying in the dark, you stay there. And so we always make, for a long time at least, a big difference between the divine who is up there and the human who is far below. And say, I can worship the divine, but I don't know him. Where is God? What is God? God is us. God is inside. We don't recognize that. Now, from his eyes, the seals of ignorance. Ignorance is what makes us blind. The whole problem of, you might say, evil and suffering is ignorance. You choose not to know. And that ignorance is voluntary for a very long time. That's one of my mother's talks. She says, she said it in French, le mal n'existe pas. Evil doesn't exist. The whole evil is ignorance. We choose to close our eyes. Naturally, we are blind. You can't see the light. That blindness is removed from one who has done his tapasya. That is why the spirit is free. This is the yoga of the spirit's freedom. The spirit which has been shut inside us, shut inside man. He has brought it out into the open. It is like a bird. The image often given is that of a bird. Deep within us, in the spirit, the soul, is a bird in a cage. The cage is closed. The wings can't open up. The bird can't soar. But if we open the cage, so then you don't have the wingless spirit, as he calls it. It becomes a bird that can fly towards its original origin, which is its home, which is the divine. So this is why it is the yoga of the spirit's freedom. The secret nature. That is why nature, Prakriti, darkness, is also the Mahashakti, the great force that is waiting for us to call it out of its absolute stillness. It is there inside. Once in a dreaded half-light formidable. The dreaded half-light is perhaps the mind. Because the mind is what makes categories. This is light, that is darkness. This is high, that is low. This is right, that is wrong. And once we are caught by this kind of approach which divides, as long as we divide darkness from light, as long as we divide man from the divine, it is really something that will never take us back to the origin. That is the dreaded half-light. There is light in the mind, but a very small spark. When the light is not separated from its source, mind is a projection of the original principle of light. Mind does not create light. One of the, you might say, unfortunate things about mind, man is supposed to be an intellectual, mental being, but mind cannot experience anything. Mind can look at, mind can analyze, mind can judge and explain as best as it thinks it can, but it is not capable of experience. Your body can experience. Your vital can experience. You can go through an experience. Mind can watch, can judge. But if I am half blind, I see half the truth. We see it with a little instrument of knowledge. Mind has an instrument of knowledge, but it is inadequate. So it's the image sometimes given. You watch, but you have to blink from time to time. So again and again we fall back into darkness. There is light, there is darkness. Mind is that. It is a dividing power. As long as we live in a world of division, we cannot be part of the one. Divine is the all. Man is that. Your spirit can experience that. Mind cannot. Mind will make categories and say this is below, this is dark, this is incomplete, this is imperfect. That is why it is dreadful. Dread is fear. Dread is dangerous, dreaded half-light. And today you say it is the intellect that is the leader of mankind. That is why man falls back into error all the time. Mother says, I have much more, you say, I expect much more from people sometimes who are not intellectual, who are simple, who have an inner opening, who have faith, who don't doubt. Doubt is the most dangerous thing. Who simply offer themselves. It comes from the heart. But as long as you are a jnani, this is the path of jnana. Sri Aurobindo himself says that he started his yoga through the path of jnana. So this is the height of jnana. Once in a dreaded half-light formidable, overtaken in her mighty privacy, she is nature. She is that secret nature. She has been hiding until the moment is ripe. Otherwise, she will not manifest herself. She will manifest herself as something which is undivine, as she seems to do. Matter is spirit. Matter is not the opposite of the spirit. In fact, there is no such thing as matter. That is the second chapter of the Life Divine. You break up matter, you get energy. You burst an atom and you get energy. You don't get something solid. See, energy is spirit, formed is spirit. So where is the actual opposition between spirit and matter, between soul and body? The idea is that you have to give up your connection with the body or with the material existence in order to discover your soul, which is what yoga has been for such a long time. We withdraw from the body. That has been the problem of India for so long. For those who are seekers of the spiritual knowledge, they withdrew from the activities of the external life into solitude, into their forests and their grottos, leaving the earth in the hands of those who were completely incapable of that truth, which is why outwardly we have to pass through that period of, and are still passing to some extent, a period of confusion, error, falsehood, and so on. So this secret nature, she was now overtaken by the truth. That covering of darkness was taken away from her, as if now she was naked to the power of his conscious light. In shadowy chambers. It's all right? No questions, no?
Lay bare to the burning splendor of his will.
Will.
Of his will means Ashwapati.
Ashwapati, the seeker. This is all the yoga of, because Sri Aurobindo does that all the time. He is describing the yoga of the king. This is the yoga of the king, the spirit's freedom. And then he will speak in a manner which describes the path of yoga for all those. So it is an alternation. It is following a narrative. The narrative recounts the journey of one individual, and then he describes the journey of consciousness for all. But here it is his. It is his own, actually, he is describing himself. And these details are there in his record of yoga. He has made notations. They are parallel. You can even read them also sometimes in some of his poems and sonnets particularly. Because the sonnets, each one is like a milestone. One particular stage of his experience or his vision is put down in a compact form of 14 lines. Just one. So this is there. It's very detailed, minute. And whenever you have, in any field, a description that is detailed, you can expect that it is true. There's no place for imagination. You have specific details. The details are always sign of something that is factual. He's describing something that he has actually gone through. And that always gives strength to any expression. In shadowy chambers, this is deep within not the heart, but the subconscious. Below our inner nature, our surface nature, and that surface nature has emerged out of the subconscious. In the subconscious, we are part of the universal nature, the universal force of manifestation. We are born from matter. We are born from the beast. Their energy, gradually that force becomes more and more personalized and you become a human being. But the whole force of existence comes from below. That is why the great force of the subconscious. It sustains, it's like the basement of your house. The whole foundation of evolution stands on the subconscious, or the unconscious, even below the subconscious. It is the origin. But therefore, in that origin is the possibility of all growth. And so that is the sun. So the sun is above. The sun is below. Because the sun is below, there is always in man an attraction for light. That is outwardly also. Because you have somewhere a connection deep inside you with light, with love, with joy, with power, with knowledge. These have been men's ideals. You can't ask for something that you have never known. If you want a perfect life, somewhere you know what is perfection. Outwardly, we don't know what is perfection. We have never lived that. We are not that. But why does it call us? Why does it attract us? You want perfect happiness. You may call it happiness. It is not pleasure. It is a joy that will never fade, as he says. So you know something without knowing, without your mind, deep inside us, that light, that joy, that love, which is the presence of the divine within, is there, unknown to our surface nature. So there are two states. There is the outer state, where we live in the outer consciousness of body, life, mind. That is with the person you think you are. And there is that inner person, which is the indwelling divinity. Deep within the so-called darkness or ignorance of your nature is the indwelling divinity. So in shadowy chambers, lit by a strange sun, and opening hardly is not just a little. Opening, I often feel, he uses the word hardly with difficulty, with hardship. You can't break down the resistance very easily. And opening hardly to hid mystic keys. You have to open the door. The key to opening that door is what? Where is the key? The key lies below. That is why below, in the depth of the darkest unconsciousness, is the key. From there you get the secret of opening the being from below. We usually use the mind. We open a few windows and we don't know actually what is the source of the light that comes into our mind. Where does it come from? It comes from outside. You open a window and the light comes into your house, your room. You think it comes from the sky. You don't realize that the sky is inside you. It is inside, it is within. And that is what makes it possible for us to attempt at least, or believe, that today man is simply an intermediary being. He can become an embodiment of that light because he contains that. The key is hid. So there is that, for the key is hid and by the inconscient crept. He says, inconscient is keeping the key. From there you have to take the light, the key, to open your nature. It is a very difficult thing because inconscient, of course, we are not conscious of that state. It resists consciousness. It resists even our aspiration. If you have an aspiration, you turn it upwards, usually. You don't turn it downwards. It's within us also. The two dimensions are the same. The two directions are actually not opposed to one another. In shadowy chambers, lit by a strange sun, and opening hardly to hid mystic keys. The secret keys. Mystic is not just something that is secret, spiritual, but the origin was also the mysteries, where you had the source of all spiritual knowledge, the ancient spiritual knowledge, which was born from experience, from direct vision, from revelation, from inspiration or intuition. These were known as the mysteries. They were not acquired by training or knowledge. The preliminary stages were training. The final stages were vision. drishti, the direct vision, the direct manifest, the connection with that. So this was there in the early years of the human search for the truth. Because always from the very beginning of time, there were always a few, not the many, but the few, who wanted to know where are we from, what are we here for, from where do we come and what are we supposed to be. And this secret knowledge, which is actually Canto 4, the secret knowledge is within, was not given by the Guru to the Shishya, except when the Guru found this, that the disciple was ready for it. For the rest, they gave them some kind of guidance which would help the well-meaning individual, some help for his daily life. So that is why all secret knowledge in the early centuries, man's development, had layers. It was not just the surface text, there is also deeper significance, always. In fact, all great literature has layers. This has so many layers, it will take us a lifetime. We can't read Savitri, we have to live it. We can take a lifetime to live one line. We have to keep on and on and on working on ourselves. And each time you read it, you discover one layer. You say, it's still there. That ignorance is still there. You have to remove it, you have to work on yourself. It goes on and on. But opening hardly to hid mystic keys, her perilous arcanes and hooded powers. Anyone knows arcane? Arcane. Mystic. No, it's a law. A law that was there. Is imposed. Ancient laws. That's why it's mystic, of course. But these ancient truths, we believe, we rely on them. They have a hold on us, these laws of darkness, these laws of failure and falsehood. But if we can remove that, the power of change, of growth is hidden within, below. Therefore, they are hooded powers. The powers of darkness, of the asura, of the titans, who we think are enemies of the spirit, they are also the children of the mother. They are also emanations that have gone forth into the play of manifestation out of the original supreme Mahashakti. As he describes them in book 10, they are her firstborn sons, and a mother's arms are stretched out in love towards her rebel sons. They are simply embodiments of the enormous embodiments of the ego. They have power, they have knowledge, they have force, all these asuras. They are sadhaks. They aspire, but they want the absolute for themselves, for their own personal fulfillment. That is the problem of the Titan. And sometimes it is so strong, like we are going through this period now in our country, and you say Rama had to come down himself. God had to come down to destroy Ravana. Ravana is what? Ravana is not a monster. Ravana is a sadhak also. He was really one who had evolved. He wanted immortality, he was devoted to the Lord, but for himself, so that he would be able to control all life. That is the difficulty. When you have acquired knowledge, knowledge becomes power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. And that is the problem. So if you are simple and you don't make any claims. You say, I don't know anything. You are more fortunate. I just know that I love her. I love the Divine Mother. I belong to her. Let her do with me whatever she wants. It's much simpler. And Mother says, if you offer yourself to me, I will do your yoga for you. You don't have to do anything. Just put yourself in my hands, like a kitten that offers itself to its mother that doesn't protest. And it's there in the sunlit path where you have the little kitten that just does mama, that's all. It doesn't have to ask for anything. It knows it is going to be looked after. It won't be abandoned.
Jhumur, even that is so difficult, na? To really give us its
That is another matter. To surrender is the difficulty.
surrender is also not
Complete, unquestioning, unconditional surrender. You say, I have surrendered everything to the Divine. By surrender, you have given your present state, all the things that you possess, your capacities. But when things go against your notion of what is right, you say, why are you doing this to me now? I have given you everything. Why are you hurting me? Why are you not looking after me in my difficulty? There is no why. I don't belong to myself. I belong to the Divine. If that total surrender is obtained, that is the secret of the Bhakti Yoga. Love, devotion, self-giving. But it is simple, it is not easy. Simple and easy are not the same thing. They are different. So here, these hooded powers confessed the advent of a mastering mind, the coming of a being, of a mind which was greater than than theirs, sorry. These powers found a being who is conscious of the source of light. So he could really break down the opposition of these dark forces and bore the compulsion of a time-born gaze. The time-born gaze is man. Man has in him the possibilities of infinite change. Ashwapati embodied that. It is a privilege to be born human. We are not limited, we are not obliged to be limited to ourselves. In fact, there are stories where the gods are envious of men. Because each god is perfect in his own, is an embodiment of one particular principle. Each god is a principle. A universal principle of light or love or joy or beauty or power or peace or knowledge or whatever. But he's limited to that particular form. Man can be everything. But that is why he can evolve. He can grow. I can grow out of what I am now to what I can be tomorrow. But naturally I have to make that necessary effort, and it's a continuous effort. There's continuously falling back. It's like being on a slope. You can slide down again and again, but the possibility is there. So this is what these powers realize, that there is a being which is the human aspiration, the human aspirant, who has the human aspiration of breaking down the walls of resistance. So these hooded powers would no longer be hooded, they would be revealed. So when they say confessed the advent, they accepted to surrender. They realized that here was a being they could not fight any longer, against whom they could not fight. So there are these powers. And perhaps that is one reason why, I don't know if I'm right, the mother really had given so much time to study these hidden powers, the occult worlds, the hidden worlds. These hidden worlds are there, and they contain in themselves forces of enormous change, but very often they are left untouched. Or if you enter into them without the connection with the divine, without establishing in yourself the connection with the divine, they will take hold of you. That is why you're often advised, don't enter into those worlds. Because there are worlds upon worlds upon worlds. The surface existence is not the only one. Within us, above us, around us, below, there are all kinds of layers of consciousness. To be able to recognize the truth of the whole, you have to know the whole. And so Mother made the plunge. She went into the world of absolute source of all knowledge, all light. If you read about her experiences with Theo in Tlemcen, it was partly for that she went. Did she not have the knowledge before she went to Tlemcen? She was that light. She was that consciousness. But she wanted to make the journey. She wanted perhaps to find out what are the stages that we have to go through. What is that pearl of great price that is hidden at the bottom, that has to be brought out from its darkness? Therefore, here there is reference to these forces, these hooded powers. They are incalculable in their wizard modes. Wizard has the same root as wisdom. Wisdom is not knowledge. Wisdom is a state of consciousness. Knowledge is acquired from outside. You reach a field of knowledge. You live in a state of wisdom. It's an inner state. And when you have that, when you are that, you are a wizard. That means you have the power to change. A wizard can change. Change the very nature sometimes of substance. So the very possibility of change comes when you embody that, when you are that. So incalculable in their wizard moods, immediate and invincible in the act. Her secret strengths, native to greater worlds. Her secret strength is the secret nature. So what are these greater worlds? They are part of the secret nature. Where is that nature? Nature is within, is below. Nature is not above. Oh. We say the spirit is above. The spirit has no substance. It can rise up to the sky. Matter is dull and heavy, but it has all the powers to be able to plunge into that world. This is what the Jnani was interested in, to find the secret truths that are hidden in the worlds that seem to be opposed to the world of light. They seem to be opposed. They contain all the secrets of knowledge, all the secret truths of evolution, of transformation, the possibility of growing, the power that is there hidden in the soil that brings the seed out of the soil, that pushes it out of the soil and makes it a tree. The enormous energy that is hidden below. So that the seed, which is tiny, which is often not even noticed, one day you find that it has become an enormous tree. That is exactly man. Man has first to plunge into the darkness, to tap that source of energy. Where does he draw that energy from? Because often we don't do it consciously, we always do it otherwise without consciousness. We are tapped by them. They take charge of us. We are taken over by these vital forces, by these secret forces. We have no control. We are carried away by these things. To be able to know that they are there and to make use of them, to master them in order to, that is really wisdom. They are there. They will not control me, I will control them. Because I am in touch with the Supreme from within. But first you have to have the yoga of the soul's freedom. The soul is not, the individual is no longer a slave of ego. The first thing you have to do is to give up ignorance and ego. Then only you can make this attempt. That is why there was, in many yogic schools, even here, there were many who, when we were young, I still remember, there were those who asked the mother, should we not have some lessons in occultism to find these hidden worlds which are sources of so much strength and power? She says, it's very risky. You have to have a guide. One who is free of ego. One who has himself made the journey of consciousness. Since you don't have that among your teachers, it is better not to enter into that world. Because if you do not know how to master them, they will master you. These vital forces, subconscious forces, the forces that are all around, all abroad in the world of nature and manifestation, they are waiting to take over man's nature. So here, this is why the spirit which is not subjected to ego any longer recognizes that there are these wizard forces, the forces that can alter, that can manifest, that can reveal truths that are always there. A truth exists for me from the time I have found it out. Until I have found something, it doesn't exist. Isn't it? Until I saw you, I didn't know you were there. So for us, for man, until I experience something, I don't even know it's there. But sometimes that experience, if I'm not ready, inwardly ready, it can be risky. If I've not taken my stand in the inner divine presence. If I am in touch with the inner divine presence, having abolished the ego before that, then it is all right. Otherwise, it is often risky. So it requires a preparation, an inner preparation, to be able to plunge into these worlds of knowledge, hidden worlds of knowledge. Her secret strengths, native to greater worlds, lifted above our needy, limited scope. Needy is very poor. Our scope is very poor. The range of knowledge, the range of power is very little. He had lifted above our needed, limited scope the occult privilege of demigods. To know the demigods are these intermediary forces. They have the knowledge, but they don't know how to use it. They just are. There are these powers, and they wait usually to be taken over by beings who can make use of them. It's like a weapon. You have an arrow. An arrow can't shoot itself. An arrow is waiting to be taken up by someone who knows how to shoot it. So these forces are there. Sometimes they create harm, sometimes they are beautiful. The wonderful things also. All kinds of forces. Now that happens sometimes with those who are unknowingly inspired. Poets, musicians, artists, without their having made an earlier, you might say, preliminary training of the spirit, the spiritual training of the spirit, they sometimes do enter into these worlds. Or, without our knowledge, Sri Aurobindo speaks of certain poets, for instance, who were, in fact, capable or who had trained themselves for having this connection with the hidden worlds. That is from where they draw, like Blake, draw this inspiration, this imagery that is there in his poetry, this rhythm, this force of truth that is there, often very difficult for the mind to explain. But he has, as if, plunged into worlds that are not the surface world of nature, what is behind the world of nature. Nature is the outer manifestation, it's the outer expression of something behind. It's there in all of us. If you do study a little bit of psychology, Jyoti can tell you she's done a lot of psychology. So your outer behavior is not the thing to be studied. What has made you behave the way you are behaving? Where does it come from? What's going on inside you? Unless you know that, the outer external behavior, it's just something that is really without base, without foundation. It makes little sense. You say this person is a bad person, this person is a good person. On what do I base myself? His behavior of bad or good is caused by what? What's going on inside his nature? At what stage of development is his nature? If my inner being is not well made, it's like a channel or a pipe that is crooked. How can the water flow? It will come out, or it will come out in a distorted manner. My behavior will be complicated, distorted, because the forces that come into me find a being, a channel that is unprepared, unready to receive it. Perhaps that is why whenever people wanted to come here, in the early years, in the time of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, long ago, often he would say, no, you don't come, you're not ready. You're not ready for it. It was a grace when they were told no. It's not that he refused permission. He saved them, protected them because they were not ready. There is this need, this necessary time of preparation. The ripeness is all, as he says. You have to be ready for these things. Otherwise, just taking up a certain yoga for the sake of saying, I'm doing yoga, I'm devoted to the mother of Sri Aurobindo. Where am I devoted from? Is my vital asking for some satisfaction, some blessing, some protection? Please give me what I want, I am in your hands. Or is my whole being entirely self-given? I have no demands, I have no question. Whatever I am, imperfect as I am, I don't question. I'm whatever I am. I'm far from perfect. If you can make use of this imperfect instrument, do so. If you can't, break it down, if necessary. It doesn't have to be what I want, it has to be what you want. So the onus is on the divine, it's not on me. Let the divine do whatever he likes with me. If I need to be protected, he will. If I don't need to, let him decide. But this kind of abolition of the ego is the very, very first condition to be able to enter into these hidden worlds. If we do not have it, it is always better not to try. So, the sheer power pattern of a cryptic science, that is why the cryptic things. Crypt is naturally an underground vault, where often in the early centuries in certain cultures they used to hide, like the Egyptians would hide their mummies. But that was also part of their occult sciences, the need to preserve the dead, because they did not feel that death was the end of life. It was the beginning of a new life. It's a continuation of another life on another level. Now, cryptic from there has things difficult to understand. So all the play of experiences that come into our life are difficult for us to decode. It's like a code which we cannot really understand properly. Her diagrams of geometric force, her potencies of marvel-fraught design, Courted employment by an earth-nursed might. But for somebody, an earth-nursed might is the yogi, is Ashrapati. All these forces, they are so well, you might say, organized. This is not a world of chaotic play of forces. There is a pattern, there is a regulated pattern. This world, when it is, that is book 2. It is the traveler of the worlds, world upon world, where he says a giant order was discovered there. Every level has before it another level, after it another level. It is like a staircase. A staircase has to be very well made. One stage will lead to the next. So in the universe is like that. It's not flat. It is like a pyramid. It goes up, from below upwards. There's probably a significance in the importance the ancient cultures gave to pyramids. Not just the Egyptians, the Mayans and all that. The sense of something rising up from below towards the heights in a very, very well-controlled manner. Otherwise, it can become chaotic. It can be dangerous.
Quoted employment by an earth-nursed mind. So,
They quoted. These forces want to be used. Used by whom? By a human being. Because he is the human embodiment, the human aspiration. The first chapter of the Life Divine, the human aspiration. That is, everything is possible for the human being who has taken up the challenge of rising from below upwards. They are there waiting to be used. So that is what he finds. A conscious nature, nature is not unconscious. Quick machinery. It's a machine, you know how to, if you know how to control a machine, you can make use of it. If you don't, the machine will control you. It will break you down, it will hurt you, it will harm you. Quick literally means alive. Quick does not mean fast only. It's the opposite of the word dead. So it's a machine that is not mechanical. It's a machine that is quite conscious. It is an instrument. A conscious nature. Nature is conscious. She is an instrumentation. She is waiting to be taken up by the human aspirant. Armed with the latent splendor of miracle, that is the word miracle. Miracle means a change that we cannot explain. It's not necessarily impossible, but we can't explain the transition from one stage to the other. So we have so much trust in our own understanding that when we can't explain something, you say it's a miracle. We don't say, I don't understand, I'm stupid. The divine knows what he's doing. Otherwise, all is miracle. That's the line that comes. All's miracle here and shall by miracle change. All things can change because everything is outside the range of our understanding. If I have a great, you might say, pride in my own understanding, then I'm stuck in that. I'm trapped. If I say, let him take me up, let him use me if he wants that this is good enough for the present, this instrument can be made use of. And if he says this instrument at present has outlived its possibilities, we start again in another form. Doesn't matter. Death is not an ending, it's a passage. It's a journey. So this is this latent splendor, latent that is hidden, waiting to come out. The prophet passion of a seeing mind and the lightning bareness of a free soul force. So the prophet is one. We say the prophet is one who sees the future. The prophet sees the future, or does he see the present? The future exists already. That's why we're moving towards it. Like the goal of the road is there at the end of the road. And we are moving towards that goal. It exists. I have not seen it. I don't know what is at the end of the road. That is my ignorance. The Prophet is not ignorant. He sees. All is present. There is no such thing that is slowly unfolding. It's unfolding to my discovery. Life is a journey of discovery. What I discover has always been there. It doesn't suddenly emerge. It emerges to my perception. I recognize it. It was always there. So if I have a seeing mind, not a thinking mind, if I see, it was there all the time. I didn't know because I was stupid, I was blind, I still am, so I can't recognize so many things. So that sense of intensity of the seeking, the passion, the struggle, because passion has to often do with the word pain. You have the French word pâtir, to suffer. So that struggle, that suffering that requires to break out of your present shell of ignorance, to move towards the next stage. And you enter from the world of thought to the world of sight, the world of direct knowledge. This came where you get the lightning bareness of a free soul force. That force of the spirit which was for so long caged within us, it comes out into the open. So we can become that which we already are. Inside us, the truth, the force, the knowledge is there, manifests itself progressively. Okay?